KairosHof is affecting the future by going through a lot of processes in designing the concept of every project it engages in. From the courts to the community to the counties, they're all designed to meet green standards we've set up for ourselves by following the international design for green projects. Basically, we incorporate tree planting. We tend to replace every tree we take out from our project sites by either planting them somewhere else or planting them on the project site to meet the green standard we're trying to achieve. We're also doing things like making sure all the projects are powered using green energy, making sure that the consumption of light and water is done appropriately. We make sure all our projects are done using the FCT water plan without having to drill boreholes that affect the environment. Basically, with other things. So the production of waste is a necessity, and to manage waste, basically we have to do both the ones that are personal to us and the ones that affect government. In terms of solid waste disposal from houses, we have two methods. We rely on the FCT to take away the solid waste produced and deliver them to the dump site. Then in terms of the solid waste, which is the waste from the WCs and so on, what we intend to do is use biodigesters to produce gas and make sure that they are environment friendly. The core value of KairosHof is very clear. We're basically into the art of living and sustainable living. So everything we're doing is designed to meet international standard of living while adapting to being sustainable and being environmentally friendly. There is an added cutting edge to what we do in KairosHof, which is taking into consideration the life experiences people are going to experience living in our communities. That's why we stay away from calling them estates. So basically, the green environment we provide is such that it meets international standard by applying air purifiers, making sure we plant trees that meet the requirements of the green areas. For instance, you could plant trees everywhere, but what type of trees do you plant? How do you get people to admire the green environment you're preparing and providing for them? So all those things are quite critical. You could take, for example, in the off community we're planting jacaranda trees and golden shower that are taprooted trees to ensure that they can last and stay by the roadside, and we don't have people cutting them down 10, 15 years because they're disturbing the road. So basically, those trees also flower and give the bright yellow or purple color that makes the environment look pristine, if you understand what I mean. And we want to make sure that that gives the environment the kind of quality that will make festive period a stay-at-home period for people that live in the community. We want them to experience quality life in our project so that they don't have to move somewhere else. So if you pay attention to everything we did in our estate, we are not profit-driven, we are community-driven. We want people to enjoy the quality of life that they experience within the community. Plant a tree. It's that simple. Plant a tree.
Okay.
Possibly every year, just plant one tree. 5 years down the line, it will make a difference. So the concept of relaxing varies. For me personally, I find my solace in being creative. So a little bit of pen on paper, probably outdoors, somewhere high where you can experience nature without the sound of the bustling traffic and the noise from development. Precisely.
I would say two things. CO2, the level of CO2 emissions we're emitting on a global scale. That's one. That's on one side, CO2. The second, will I say, biggest challenge we're having is with plastic and the control and use of plastic. So plastic, will I say, was a cheap solution that man created mostly for packaging of products. For instance, pure water leather. And that pure water leather can be in the earth for hundreds of years and it wouldn't degrade. But it breaks down gradually into nanoplastics. So now, this is the main problem. The nanoplastics is even a bigger problem than we anticipated because nanoplastics can be transported by air. So the wind can transport nanoplastics. Flowing water can transport nanoplastics. Apart from the actual plastic getting into the ocean and affecting ocean life, certain fishes consuming them and dying in the process, turtles getting stuck in certain plastic wrappings and not being able to escape. Nanoplastics have now, they are practically found everywhere right now in the world. And in recent study from the World Economic Forum shows that nanoplastic is now beginning to be found in the bloodstream of humans. So now it has left the environment and is getting into our bloodstream. So this coming years we will now begin to hear of new types of possibly cancers and blood-related diseases that may begin to rise. So these are two very big issues that we need to take very, very seriously, and there's very little education around this. When we set up KairosHof, we had a big mission on our hands. Beyond selling a lifestyle of sustainability, we can pride ourselves to say we are the pioneers of sustainable living because we want to go round the clock. We are touching every point, first of all, of the SDG goals, the 17 goals, and we have agendas attached to each of these goals. And we want to be one of those, will I say, establishments that would help Nigeria meet its targets for 2030 for at least reducing its carbon footprint to a certain degree. And KairosHof has designed all of its projects, and not just its projects. It starts from within. The championing of that education around sustainability starts from within. So our team, our staff, and those who work with us are intimated daily on the reason why we're doing what we're doing, getting them to understand about the environment, understand why these goals were set in the first place, what we need to do to meet those goals, and designing all our operational procedures and our projects to meet those set goals, from the design of our buildings to the implementation of our construction works to make sure we're not harming the environment in the process. One of such examples is, yes, people need housing, but to do new developments, you have to move to areas where you have vegetation already existing. Beyond compensating those who may be using part of it as a source of livelihood, maybe some farms that may be part of this, compensating them isn't just enough. We're cutting down trees in this process, cutting down vegetation in this process to build homes for humans to live. Yes, some trees are planted back in the process, some are left where they are depending on the topography of the land and the layout of your project. But at the same time, you have taken down trees. So to give a typical example, we did an audit and we realized for, let's say for about 45 hectares of one of our projects, for instance at Idu, we'll be cutting down with a negative factor of, let's say 15%, we're cutting down over 50,000 trees to achieve that project. And we can't say we're a sustainable company and we are cutting down trees to build houses. So what can we do to mitigate that, let's say that action, we decided to plant 2 trees for every 3 we cut down. As I said earlier, the pioneers of sustainable living, we mean it. I can boast that we don't see any company who is going all out as we are. We're doing it full circle. It's not just we're not just, a lot of companies, when they say they are going green, all they do is, we're installing solar street lights, we're installing solar rooftops for residents. Sustainability goes beyond power. That is just power side of it. Power generation, yes, it's a good way, because most houses, because of the energy crisis we have in Nigeria, most people have to rely on third-party power sources like diesel and petrol generators, which are very huge defaulters, or let's say culprits in terms of CO2 emission. That is one side to it. We are going all around, from how we even implement the project to start with. So it starts with the construction phase, which is you cut down trees. What are you doing about that? Are you replacing trees back somewhere? What is your option for sourcing water? You notice a lot of estates say, because of epileptic, or let's say poor water supply or availability of water within certain areas, they go ahead to dig boreholes. Now, the problem with boreholes is, imagine a project where you have over 800 homes and you have 800 borehole points that you dig. You are going back to the same problem of harming the environment. Yes, this water, let's say the water plate level we have underneath the soil, it has its own role it's playing. Apart from the fact that it's cooling the earth, it's also providing balance at certain levels. And once you begin to have people drill at different points and take up this water that was meant to move in that direction in the first place, the earth would always settle itself. You see, the thing about the earth is, the earth doesn't need us, we need the earth. The earth will be fine if every human goes extinct. In fact, I think it will have peace. But we need the earth more than the earth needs us. And if you begin to exploit resources without taking into consideration how to replenish them, you need to think about the full circle. And the earth will resettle and you begin to have tremors. So over the years, people will begin to notice parts of the community rebalancing itself. You begin to see cracks in the walls in houses, you begin to see fences fall, and in dire cases, you can have entire houses sink and the rest of them. So we made sure we didn't, boreholes are a no within our project. We connected to the FCT water board. We can augment with storage by having a good reservoir that can act as storage for providing water after maybe in any case where the water goes down. So that is just one use case. Another use case was on how we construct our roads. So we made sure we leveled our projects properly in such a way that once we want to build our roads, we don't need to bring in lots of foreign material to come and work on those roads. And we did our calculations right from the onset to make sure we don't need to bring in, we can reuse materials we already have on the project by taking certain levels and moving them to other parts of the project while we reduce the amount. So a typical example was, let's say for instance, 500 meters of road we're doing within the community is going to save us over 400 trips of laterite to be delivered. So beyond the CO2 emissions of those trucks, these laterites, we all know how some of this laterite is being harvested and delivered. So we're depleting the environment somewhere else because we want to create comfort and luxury for people in another place. So that wouldn't really help in any way. So these are factors we consider and look at very well before we implement our projects. Okay, so the thing with waste, if we're talking about litter, that is the daily waste we generate from like our homes and co. Part of what we, as I mentioned, the education starts from within. And so we're also teaching and educating our own team on how to manage waste, litter waste, how to separate waste, how to separate plastics from bio waste to paper and co, so that they can understand why this waste needs to be separated in the first place. Once you separate it, it's easy to choose those which can be recycled and dispose of some of this waste properly. And this is part of what we're also going to translate to our residents on how they are going to be separating their waste. Our waste collection arm of the management part of the project are going to be definitely enforcing that, teaching residents how to separate their waste and how they are going to collect those waste and recycle the waste that can be recycled, and those that can be dispose of those waste properly. So these are some of the plans we have around waste management. You are see yourself as a visitor here. See yourself as a visitor. Imagine how you would act or behave in someone else's house. You would act respectively. You would respect the person's home. You would treat things properly and nicely. So see the earth as you are a visitor here, and you want to treat it with kindness. You want to treat it with respect. And once you have that in mind, then your approach to how you carry out your daily activity will be more conscious. And once people are talking about sustainability, talking about the earth, you look at it holistically. And I think it's a behavioral change we need more than just our advocacy should be shifted towards our behavior, how we behave and how we treat everything within our immediate environment. And we need to be educated more about why we need to do this. I think a lot of people are not informed enough about this. Many people don't even know what CO2 emissions are. Many people don't know what the ozone layer is. Many people don't even know that plastic affects the environment and how it affects them. Many people don't know how cutting down trees, cutting down bushes, cutting down forests affects your immediate ecosystem. There are certain insects that help you with your life, like bees, for instance, are one of the most important, let's say, insects we have on Earth, apart from the cross-pollination that they are mainly known for to help our plants, our flowers and co grow even more. And many people are not aware of this. The average person sees a bee and wants to kill it. That's the first instinct that comes to mind, and wants to kill it. And we don't know that these bees are very, very, in fact, in Amsterdam, the new mayor is beginning to she's making a lot of driving a lot of policies to make Amsterdam the bee capital of the world in a very short time, planting trees, planting flowers that are bee friendly to attract bees, because they understand the importance of bees to the environment. So there's a lot we need to learn. We need to begin to understand how we can live even peacefully, because climate change, it's not just about rising sea levels or increased temperatures and co. I'll give you a typical example of how it's affecting us right now in Nigeria. Part of the food crisis we face and insecurity we face, climate change plays a part in it, a very big role in it. If you could use Google Maps to do a terrain view, overview terrain view, and backdate some of the feeds of the results you see, 10 years, take a timestamp from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and today, you realize the Lake Chad Basin is shrinking, and the water bodies around the northeast is shrinking. The green areas in the northeast are also vanishing. The Sahara Desert is expanding very fast, and this is causing mass migration. A lot of people are moving from those regions to regions where there's still green. And what will happen in the process? People will have unexpected visitors within their communities, and definitely people begin to clash for resources of food, water, and land, and the rest of them. So it's something, if we take very serious and begin to act now, I'm sure we can reverse the trend currently. Anywhere with an amazing view. Nature is beautiful to look at, very, very beautiful to look at. Greenery, I always tell people if you can find somewhere quiet enough within a park or by the sea, you can hear or feel it talk to you. It's something very amazing and breathtaking. So a walk in the park, in a nice park with some green, or by the beach or by the water, or somewhere with a nice view that has some green and some water bodies, it's amazing for me. It's amazing.